Thank you very much, Mr. Lynch. I'm very glad for his explanation. Because if he didn't, then I would have the enviable task of trying to explain what happened between Jamaica and Berlin. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen all, specifically Mr. Mark Dumfries, the director of the ICD, and the many excellencies of the diplomatic corps of friendly nations who are gathered here this evening, as well as my own ambassador to the great country of Germany, Her Excellency Mrs. Wheeler. And you'll permit me if in this salutation I indulge a little in some of our local personalities who have dotted this audience this evening. I see the President of the Caribbean Hotel Association, Mr. Joseph Fossmeyer, and the Secretary General of the Caribbean Tourism Organization, Mr. Hugh Riley. On a very personal note, is also here the Director General for Tourism in my own ministry, Ms. Carol Guntley. I firstly want to say how grateful I am to the ICD for inviting me to share in this evening's deliberation in particular, and in fact to involve Jamaica in the process, but more so to speak with you a little bit on the eve of what is going to be a most exciting, exhilarating, and intellectual discourse that we expect to take place here over the next few days, examining very carefully critical areas that are critical and important to cultural diplomacy and the role that that has to play not only in broadening human understanding across the globe, but indeed to examine some of the key elements relating to tourism in particular that I have an interest in. Investment, international investment, which is so important. And also the question of the interlinkages between countries and how we can emphasize the specificity of peoples, to emphasize their identity and uniqueness, to glory in those uniqueness whilst we recognize the differences, but not to cause the differences to make pain and problems for us. But to see the difference as a challenge as to how to adjust our own process so that we can accommodate those differences that exist among peoples. Small countries like Jamaica have a particular challenge in this regard, in establishing ourselves and in identifying our own specificity and our own claim to a sense of place in a globalized world. And how do you do it against a competition of mega states, mega countries, and of course where we sit at the doorstep of perhaps the richest and largest economy of the world, the United States? That's a particular challenge. And the questions of cultural dominance based on just the sheer power and awesomeness, and the extent to which communication and the media bombards you and empowers those who are around you to the point where it almost minionizes you. How, as a small nation, you can extend yourself and be recognized for the true value of who you are. But more importantly, how can you lead in that context? How can you develop what I call the culture of the boldness of achieving, to have the audacity to want to suggest that you can be a leader? And that's what we have done, and that's what I think branding is all about. It's about identifying that part of you, that element of you, which can not only identify and distinguish you, but can separate you in a positive way to the rest of the world. And Jamaica has been able to do that fairly effectively by our culture. The uniqueness of the cultural elements of Jamaica, the authenticity of that which is truly Jamaican, the creativity of our people, and the expressions that we give to the world of who we are and what we are about. It comes out strong in our music. Reggae music, which is our gift to the world, is a signature statement of the power of a little country in the Western world. We express this in the prowess of our athletes. For a little country, smaller than the King's Ranch of Texas, to be able to produce 5 athletes this year who all are clocking sub 10 over the 100 meters is awesome as it is historic. But to be able to produce for the world an athlete of millennium proportion, an athlete that the world has never seen his likes before,